So if you're familiar with my tutorials, you might know that I like to talk about the history of my cuts. But torque, unfortunately, doesn't really have much history. I created it about 3 years ago, sometime in 2017, and about 1.5 to 2 years later, I ended up finding the motions for the rest of the cut. And I ended up giving the name torque because, right around the middle here, it just feels like it really fits all these twisting motions. There's a lot of torque going on there. And so, it just kind of was created over time. There wasn't much special, I guess, references in its name or its construction. But even so, I still believe that this is one of my best cuts in terms of the things I like to try and put in my cuts. Every single packet is important. Every single packet moves at least once every like 2 or 3 beats. And also every single packet, or every single grip rather, is very, very unique. It's not what you would call standard. And that's probably going to be the hardest part of this cut. Because the most standard part is this Z grip, a momentary Z grip at the beginning. And if you have the grips wrong, you are never going to learn it correctly. So make sure that you pay close attention as I explain the grips. Now let's just get started. So as I said earlier, this starts with a pretty simple opener, and then it goes off in a very weird direction. Now let me show you the packet sizes, because that's pretty important. You can have all the packet sizes the same, but it definitely helps if you have small, large, small, large. That's probably the optimal sizing you need for this. They don't have to be drastically different. You can get away with tiny packets, but generally try to keep them around the same size. That's just something you'll build up with muscle memory over time. Now, there's going to be 2 different things happening at once. In the right hand, I let go with the index finger and turn my hand over. It's a little bit, there's some details to watch out for with this, because I'm doing them at the same time. I'm letting go and turning my hand. And what you don't want is for this packet to fall away from the back of this packet. You don't want a V shape. You want to maintain the parallel nature of the 2 packets. And in order to do that, what I do is as it drops down, my index finger is just lightly pushing up against it. It's not even pushing up against it. The reason it's there is so that I can simply grab up here, rest my index finger there. Again, there's no tension here, it's just barely even pressing. And that's going to be very important later on, as you'll see. Now the middle finger and thumb are just going to grip this packet down here. Notice that this packet is kind of off to the side like so. It's not starting from a, I guess, perfect civil position. We're not starting from there. Starting with it just a little bit off to the side so that we can grab with the thumb. And what's going to happen is this packet, we're going to let go with the index and turn the hand at the same time. Both hands are going to keep their palms facing each other. Don't let this packet fall away and form a V. Keep your index finger there, as this packet gets pushed on top. Now notice, the little finger is not pushing up against there. That's what the index finger is for. And you'll also notice that I'm kind of holding packet up here with like the tip of my middle finger and the first knuckle of the 4th finger. That placement is just what happens with me naturally, but I would advise that you try to copy it, because it gives you a lot of space down here. Now this is a little bit tricky to explain, the motion where you push it down, but simply what's happening is this packet is going to be right here. The thumb is on this corner, the little finger is going to be jutting out very far from here, and it's going to be on the right side of this short edge right here. These fingers are going to push in until it's this far, up against the line on the 4th finger. And as you do that, you're turning your hand so that it continues being palm to palm here. And what that does is it gets this against the little finger, as you can see. At this point you let go with all the fingers, you kind of just let it ride along on top of the thumb, and you push it in. Now make sure that the long edge here contacts the index finger. If you don't do that, you're going to have these 2 packets up against each other, and that's just going to make it very hard to do anything later on. So make sure that it's out-jogged. This is the shape of the structure at this point. Let's go back just a little bit so I can make sure, get all that. Start here, let go, and at the same time let it fall down using the index finger to keep this from splaying outwards. As you turn this packet over, and instantly, as that's happening, I let this revolve downwards. Notice that once it contacts the little finger, I let go with the other fingers and I let the thumb push that in like so. The thumb pushes not only against this packet, but against the short edge of this packet. And this allows me to kind of square up all these packets together. Now what I do, this is where it starts getting very tricky. I grab here with the little finger. I follow this motion, grabbing here. Notice that the thumb comes against the long edge of the 10 of clubs. The index finger grabs up here. And down here, I am letting go with the fourth finger and only holding on with the middle finger. So now we have this odd position where the 10 of clubs is between the left index finger and the right middle finger. And the 5 of diamonds is between the right index finger and the left thumb. The king of spades is between the left little finger and the left thumb. And this packet's just chilling down here. So remember, we went with this motion, pushing this packet in, and we continue that motion. All these grips have to happen really fast. You're continuing the motion, like so. Now what's happening over here is I'm essentially doing this kind of thing. It's not really a defined grip right here. You're just, if you look carefully at the left fingers, I'm just letting it fall against these fingers and being taken up by the little finger. This is kind of the trouble with this cut, because there's a lot of kind of undefined grips in this. And that's just the nature of this cut. You're going to have to really practice this so it's nice and smooth. So you're going to do that while this packet is kind of in the way. And to help with that, you're going to push in with the little finger on that packet. So notice, as this packet comes down, I'm pushing in with the little finger. This packet is coming down, and the shape that I'm ending up with down here looks like this. Now notice that this packet does not ride against the face of this. It kind of just goes along at an oblique to that packet. That's definitely one of the little small things that makes this difficult, something you'll have to really watch for. Now on the right side, notice that the middle finger is against this packet, the index finger is against this packet, and as we turn this over, the middle finger, oops, that sometimes happens. Alright, so as I was saying, when you let this packet transfer to the little finger, you want to make sure that the index and middle finger of the right hand come close together, as if you're clipping that packet. And the reason for that is it gives you space to allow this corner to not clip against the long edge here. Now remember, it's very important to curl in the little finger down here as you do this motion. Curl in the little finger. Let this packet move obliquely down to the little finger. And notice that as I did that, this corner managed to clear that long edge. In the final state you want these packets to arrive in is right here. Notice that as I push this packet across, it ends up coming off the little finger and onto my thumb right there. So we want that packet to come off onto the thumb. That's what the whole pushing motion down here is for. That makes it easier to pop it off. And now you'll notice that we're in a position to grab this packet. So now we have this right here. Now this is a little bit difficult to explain. Essentially what we're going to do is we're going to push down with the thumb. We're pushing down with the thumb, but we're not letting this packet, we're not letting all this move forward. We're pushing down with the thumb, but in turn we're revolving this packet upwards so that it comes against this thumb And notice this is a very important grip in the right hand. I kind of have my fourth finger against the short edge, but that doesn't matter as much as making sure the thumb is against this corner. The thumb is on top of that corner. The left thumb is on that short edge. As you push this down, you are pushing with the thumb, which revolves this around the left thumb, which, as you'll notice, is down here. And right now is going to turn this packet like so. So you'll notice all of this motion kind of happens together. You let this revolve, and at this point, the corner of this packet is kind of nestled here. That stabilizes it. And you're going to push with the index finger against these two packets. These two packets come together like so. You're pushing with the index finger against the back of them to keep them like that. That's why it's important when you push this packet down. When you push this packet down, you want the top right corner of that packet to clear this packet so that you have it pinched like so. And that allows you to roll this packet so that you can push with the index finger against both packets. Now, the fingers here, you're going to allow the packets to push up against them, and as you revolve this packet around the thumb, this thumb starts pushing up, and it will push against the edge of this packet. Now this packet is going to line up with this packet right here. Let me reset these packets here. So we get over here, push down as I roll up here. You grab with the thumb. These packets are pushing against, notice my left thumb. It's up against the long edge of that packet. And it's allowing it to push up against, like so. You end up in this position. The little finger is under here. Fourth finger against the long edge. Middle finger against this long edge along with the index finger. The thumb is cradling this packet. It's just over that corner, which prevents it from falling off this way. And this packet is going to be up like so. And you're going to let it roll down, or I guess just let it slide down, I mean. I'm going to grab with the little finger, kind of cradling it down there. And you're going to revolve this and grab up here. And notice the position of this packet in the left hand. Very undefined grip. It's kind of hard to explain this. Make sure the two corners of these packets are still against the palm. But you have this grip here momentarily before the middle finger comes to help push this packet. And now you can see all of this can come together. Now you're going to let this part of the V formation slide along the palm of your hand. Notice that it slides down, so it's right here. Thumb is underneath, slides down, and you're kind of grabbing this packet as this falls on top. Notice I'm pushing through with these fingers until the thumb peeks through, which allows me to grab it. I'm going to go through this again. So we're over here, and notice that we're going to curl in here. We'll let that packet fall down as we're grabbing up here with the index finger and grabbing with the thumb. We're going to revolve that up, curl in with the right thumb while curling the left packet over here, letting this corner catch against the flesh right there. Curling that in, pushing with the index finger against there. The thumb ends up contacting this long edge, straightening this packet out, allowing the 9 of clubs to line up with it. Pulling this packet down so that the corners of these 3 packets are against each other on the palm of the hand. Revolve this around like so, allowing this corner to clear the knuckle right there. And now you're going to because your your little finger is still up against this package right here. You're going to keep that stability after you revolve this. And notice that the 9 of clubs revolves a little bit as I grab up here. Then the middle finger down here grabs a hold of that, allowing all of this to come together. Hands close together, index finger of the right hand's doing a lot of work with that. Let the V formation slide down the palm of your hand. Keep the thumb underneath because you're going to be pushing with these fingers. Not pushing with the thumb, pushing with these fingers to fit the flow until the thumb comes through. You can push it down like so. And that is torque. Alright, now that we've gone deep into the nitty-gritty, all the tiny little details of the cut, how do we take that and turn it into one full move that flows? Well, you have one advantage that I didn't have as a learner, and that is that you can watch my performance and see exactly how I do it. Now, when you watch my performance, you can see the video on my YouTube channel too, the one from the beginning of this tutorial. I'll probably put it after this too, so you can see it again. But I want you to watch that and not look at the tiny details like how the fingers move. I want you to look at the large scale things, like how it flows from hand to hand, where I pause, because you can see that the flow is dictated by the structure of the move itself. You have to push through for this part. So you want it to open up, go nice and smoothly throughout there, pause when it starts opening up, and then speed up a little bit near the end when you're closing up again. That's generally what you want. Honestly, with this cut, the hardest part is learning the grips. After that, this is more like it is an advanced cut. It's not terribly difficult after that. Once you have those grips down, the flow is pretty straightforward. And I would say that even getting it so that it's nice and comfortable in your hands is pretty good too, because of all of my cuts, honestly, torque is one of the ones that feels the best to perform. So there's a lot of palm motion going on, cuts sliding around, packet sliding around, I mean. And when you're performing it, you do not want to grip cards. It's a bit of a misnomer when I talk about the grips, because it's more like you're just holding them lightly. It's more like you're creating shapes with your fingers and moving your hands around, and the cards are falling from hand to hand, and it just so happens to be in the shape of the cut. You want your hands almost to be dropping the cards as you do the move. You want it to be that light. So remember, nice and light touch. Don't worry if you mess up, because I still mess up all the time too, as you can see from me trying to perform the cut right now. And so sometimes can't really do it. So what I recommend is you just take a moment to shake out your hands, make sure they're nice and loose, and then you can just perform the cut. And as you notice, when I get to parts like this where there's a lot of stuff going on, I'm really just letting the cards fall through the hands, nice and relaxed. Just keep it nice and smooth, nice and buttery. Don't worry about the small details once you start getting it up to speed. Because once you start getting it up to speed, all those small details, you can start changing them so it fits your hand better. So yeah, those are a few of my tips on how to get this cut smooth, how to get any of my cuts smooth really, because I create a lot of my cuts in similar ways, with odd grips and things like that. I generally, when I create cuts, I don't care about how difficult it's going to be to make it look good and flow well, because I just want it to have motions that follow from each other in such a way that when you do eventually get it down, it looks really good. So have fun with this cut. I'm sure it will give you you'll have a lot of time to be able to mess around with this, hopefully, because it's going to take you a long time to learn, but I promise you, it's going to feel really good. It's going to be one of the most cohesive cuts you'll ever learn, and I bet that your technical skill really going to rise after you learn this. So have fun with torque, and thank you for buying this pack. If you bought it, sometimes I upload these months down the road as a free tutorial on YouTube, and if you're watching it then I admire you for your patience.